Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Larry Hurt with the BulkLoads podcast. I am the CEO of Bulk Insurance Group. We are the insurance arm of BulkLoads. Today, I am going to talk about two main topics. As insurance renewal season is upon us, a lot of our clients renew the first of the year. So maybe your insurance renewal is coming up. I'm going to talk about two main topics, right? The first one is what is an agent of record letter? And the second topic is what are loss runs? Now, before we get into it, little background on me. Before I met Jared, back when I was in college, after college, I graduated, played football and baseball in college, graduated, and I got hired on with C.H. Robinson. Love them or hate them, depends on your perspective on them. Personally, I had a really good experience with them. The access to data that I got was incredible. I love that portion of it. If you don't know C.H. Robinson, they're the largest third party logistics provider in the country. I worked here in the Springfield, Missouri branch. What I really did is I helped set up solutions for brokers, motor carriers and shippers. And so what I would do, I primarily worked in the food and beverage sector. And I would go in, I would analyze their freight capacity, and then I would provide solutions that help them mitigate spend. Primarily, obviously, that's always an objective for your clients, but also increase efficiency. And so that got me kind of my start into transportation and logistics. From there, I got hired on to help build a transportation unit for a large insurance broker. And so I went on board with them. I obviously had a lot of relationships in the transportation industry. I then went on board with them and helped them develop their trucking insurance division. That's how I met Jared. For anyone out there that doesn't believe in the power of reaching out on LinkedIn or connection, I can tell you that's exactly how I met Jared. And that's how I've met a lot of professionals in the industry. So go ahead, shoot that message off to someone on LinkedIn. You never know where the relationship will lead. Jared and I got coffee after I messaged him, and we began talking about trucking and transportation, and it's turned into a really fruitful partnership, and we've done really well on insurance. And again, it all goes back to the trust that Jared's built on Bulk Loads. And so we're really grateful for this partnership, and we desire to serve our clients to the best of our ability, and that's something that we hold really special to our hearts. Okay, changing gears, let's get into insurance 101. Here's some terms that you probably often hear. I'm going to go through a scenario. Let's say your insurance renewal is coming up. First of all, first thing, insurance for trucking companies, if you're an authority for hire, you have an insurance filing, and you cross state lines, you have an insurance filing. So you shouldn't be surprised when your insurance renewal is coming up and you're 90 days away, and all of a sudden your phone starts getting blown up from insurance agents wanting to quote your business. That's very common in trucking insurance because the effective dates on the federal filing are public data. So there's a database where insurance agents can go, they can find your renewal, and based on the renewal, if they know that you have a renewal coming up, they will start to call and try to ask to quote your business. That's very common in our industry. There's a lot of insurance companies that essentially will buy lists from the Safer database or the FMCSA, and then target trucking companies that are coming up for renewal. So that is why at the 90-day mark, you probably start to get a lot of calls. Some probably go well. Some of them are probably really, really bad, depending on how the conversation goes. Now, because it's so competitive, one of the things I love about insurance is the competition. I love that insurance brokers have to compete at a really high level to earn people's business. That's something that excites me. It's something that I love doing. And it's something that I think is very special about our industry. There are some downfalls. And if you've gone through a renewal cycle, you've probably been asked about an agent of record letter. And I'm going to explain what that is. Essentially, as brokers, there's only so much access to trucking insurance markets. There's not a lot of insurance companies that want to write trucks. So the ones that do it are few and far between. Total, we have about 25 contracts for Bulk Insurance Group. That's probably 95% of all the insurance markets that are writing trucks currently. So there may be times where agents have one or two different markets, but the majority of the time, the market selection is going to be the same. If you watch my last podcast episode, I discussed picking your agent first and who you want to be represented to, and then allowing them to have full market access. Now, when that doesn't happen, you have multiple agents fighting for the same markets. And you've probably heard of the term, I need you to sign an agent of record or record letter. Sometimes they'll refer to them as broker of record letters. Other times they're referred to as agent of record letters. I won't get into the nitty gritty of the differences there, but what you need to know is an agent of record letter. When someone asks you to sign an agent of record letter, that means that you are firing the current broker and hiring the new broker. So we really see this in two scenarios. The first one is if you say you really like the insurance market you're with, say you're with Acuity Insurance, and you reach out to Bulk Insurance Group and you're like, hey, I'd like you guys to quote my insurance. We have an Acuity contract as well. The agent that we're competing against has you currently placed with Acuity. If Acuity is the best option for you, but you don't like your agent, maybe it makes sense to hire us, fire your other agent. Maybe you're I can't tell you the number of times where we've heard, hey, I want to stay with the insurance market, but my COIs are always late. They don't understand trucking. I need an agent that can understand what I'm trying to do and accomplish, but we don't want to move insurance carriers. That would be an appropriate time for an agent of record letter. We would keep you with the same insurance market. In this example, I was talking about Acuity. Maybe we keep you with Acuity, but now we take over and service your account. What you have to remember is in that scenario, you are firing your current agent. They no longer represent you to Acuity. They no longer would represent you to the other markets. There can be a lot of benefit to an agent of record letter, especially, I want to drive this home, especially if your agent is not an expert in trucking. We see it all the time on Progressive accounts. We see it a lot with Acuity accounts, as well as Canal and Occidental. And why that is trucking specific agents aren't the only ones with trucking contracts. And so I want to make sure that you all understand it's very important to have a trucking specific agent for a variety of reasons, but really for the coverage. You want to make sure that you're insured with an agent that has you insured properly. I had a conversation earlier this week about a scenario where a trucking company leased out one of their trailers to an owner-operator. That owner-operator then got into an accident, and now they're in a big litigation about is there coverage or not for the third party that was injured. Those are all scenarios that you want to make sure you have your insurance policy dialed in before the accident happens. So if you're with the best market, again, a really good agent will tell you, hey, I don't think we should move it from Acuity. So if you love your agent or your agent's your brother or it's your cousin, leave it there. There's no reason for us to work on it. Now, if you're having service problems, you're not getting endorsements, the communication is poor, maybe you don't know, maybe they aren't answering your questions adequately because they don't know, then it may be time for an agent of record letter. But I want to say you are firing your current agent and hiring whatever agent you signed that letter for. I want to make that really crystal clear because a lot of agents, sometimes agents will say, hey, sign this over to me so I can get you a quote. They should never need you to sign anything to get them a quote unless they're taking that quote from a different agent. So the first example I gave you was an agent of record letter where maybe the agent wants to keep you with the best market. There's also a second type of agent of record letter, and this is very, very common when maybe the insurance company that you're currently insured with no longer wants to write the business or the price has gotten really, really high. And so you have 2 or 3 agents come in and now they're all fighting for the same market access and the business is going to move from the current insurance carrier. So we're essentially fighting, insurance brokers are fighting for market access to other quotes, not your current carrier, but other quotes. This also for an insurance broker to get access to those quotes, if they've already been submitted, then you have to go and sign an agent of record letter. And so a lot of times we'll see this as well. And we've gotten really good at asking for this up front because in a lot of senses, it doesn't make sense for us to go and compete against 5 other agents all going to the same market because we're going to be blocked. And so essentially we will ask, if you'd like Bulk Insurance to represent you, we'd ask that you sign these agent of record letters to us and then let us go negotiate on your behalf. There's a lot of power in the underwriting process and underwriters trusting specific agencies because all we deal in is trucking and really, really specifically bulk trucking. We have really good partnerships. So if I'm getting a canal quote and my competitor's getting a canal quote, I really like my chances to communicate your operation better because it's all I do. Therefore, I can depict a picture that's accurate to the underwriter. And theoretically, we should be rewarded through better pricing or better coverage. A lot of our accounts, we offer the pollution liability coverage and we throw it in there because there is an exposure for bulk haulers, whether you're hauling corn or grain, maybe some fertilizer, there's an exposure on the pollution liability. And so we always want that thrown in. We want to get you more coverage. Those are the things a trucking specific and bulk specific agent can do that maybe a generalist or maybe your local agent probably won't be able to. Okay, that's topic number 1, agent of record letters. Main thing, recap, main thing is if you're signing an agent of record letter, you are taking a market away from somebody and giving it to the person that you are signing the letter for. I hope that clears that up. I'm sure if you've been around a long time, you understand that process. It can be really ugly and nasty. Again, I always want to emphasize, pick your broker first, give them all the agent of record letters, let them go to bat for you. That is, in my opinion, the most efficient and effective way to reduce your insurance cost. Okay, topic number 2. This is another topic that comes up a lot around renewal, and it's a big headache. What are loss runs? There's only one scenario where you don't have to provide loss runs, and that is if you are getting a Progressive quote. Progressive does not force you to send in loss runs if you're under 10 units. Now, if you're over 10 units, you may have to supply loss runs. If you're under 10 units, agents with a Progressive contract can get a quote, no loss runs. Now, everybody else that falls outside that Progressive bucket is required on their submission to provide the past 5 years of loss runs. If you haven't been in business 5 years, they require maybe the previous 3 years or 2 years or however long you have been in business. What are loss runs? Most people don't know. Loss runs are your claims history. So any claim that has been paid out or maybe has a reserve is going to be on those loss runs. Why it's important to underwriters is because when actuaries set up the data science behind calculating premium, so how much premium do I need to get to be profitable to write this trucking account? They take what is on your loss runs and actually enter that information and that frequency into an algorithm that then determines how much premium that they need to collect in order for this risk to be profitable to them. So loss runs can be a pain to get. If you don't know this already, you will know it soon because every renewal you have to update those loss runs. So if you have multiple different carriers through the last 5 years, you then have to go to your old agent and you have to ask, hey, can you get me my loss runs when I was with you? It's extremely inefficient and it's very painful because it causes the insured, our client, to go through and ask old agents, dig up old emails and send them to somebody and ask for their loss runs. And a lot of times they actually won't get the loss runs. And so it can be a big pain in the butt. We have third-party contacted a company that actually does this process for us. It's really efficient, and all you have to do is sign your name on it, and then we send them and get them on your behalf. Now, that's something that is again, trying to take the friction out of the quoting process and the loss run gathering process for our clients. So some agencies do that, some don't. For us, because we specialize in trucking and we know how tedious the loss run process can be, we've decided to go down that route, and it's been really great for us. We then just have you sign a PDF. We send it in, we get the loss runs back. Pretty painless for the most part. Now, the other thing you need to know about loss runs and how they calculate premium, when you look at your loss runs, there's going to be a column that says reserves. Most people don't know what a reserve is. So here we go. A reserve is when there's a claim and the insurance carrier has not paid that claim out, but they do believe that there could be future damages that they're required to pay. They will put a number in your reserve column. We see this most commonly on liability claims that are at fault. So our trucking or our driver maybe hits somebody, and we're not really sure if that person was injured at the scene, but we also need to make sure that we set some money aside in reserve to make sure that if we do end up getting a lawsuit, that there's money to pull from and put in. Now, having money in the reserve column is not good come renewal time, because they will actually take that reserve if it's open, and they will use that into calculate how much more premium is associated on that claims and those loss histories. So you want to make sure that if you ever see a reserve, that you're in contact with your agent, asking them when the insurance company will close that claim out. That could have a really negative or really positive outcome on your next insurance renewal, because that reserve money will be accounted for when they're calculating next year's premium. So a lot of times on big claims, you'll see a reserve sitting out there for 2 or 3 years and the claim is open. We want to avoid that if we can. Good communication with your broker. Check in, make sure they tell them you want every 6 months or every 3 months, every quarter, that you want them to reach out to the insurance carrier and ask them if that claim has been closed or what the status is. That could significantly save you at renewal time. Another thing, loss runs. This process doesn't have to be painful. You just have to be with the right agency. So also, there's some power in staying with the same agent for 5 years. They will then have all your past 5 years of loss runs, and then they can easily administer that back to the markets. So loss runs can be a pain, but in all the loss run is it's a detailed history of your claims. That's what underwriters want to see, is details about the claims. They also will look at the frequency. So if there's the same VIN number having a lot of accidents, that's something that the underwriters are going to hone in on. Why does the same VIN number keep showing up? Maybe it's a bad driver. Maybe it's not a bad driver, and it's just like the word means accident, and maybe it was just an accident, and there's nothing further. But those underwriters will dig into that. That's all on the claims history. Those loss runs will give the underwriters the numbers that they need to see to calculate the premium that they need for the risk to be profitable at renewal. So that's all today. Pretty short and simple. But more than anything, I just wanted you guys to know what an agent of record letter means and what your loss runs represent. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments or reach out to me directly, Larry at BulkInsuranceGroup.com. I would love to help you. And if there's anything else, any other episodes or education on the insurance, specifically the trucking insurance topics that you'd like me to cover, again, drop them in the comments and we'll get after it. Thanks, guys.